Now, welcome to nature and scope of economics. This topic talks about the nature, the basis of economics. What's the basis of economics? What's the nature of economics? The scope of economics. Under the scope of economics, we'll be examining different concepts and definitions. And I hope this will be an interesting topic. And I beseech you to move along with me as we go on. Now, when we talk about nature and scope of economics, to have a good understanding of the basic and importance of economics, we need to consider the definition of economics as propounded by various scholars in the field. Now, for us to have a good knowledge of economics or what economics is all about, we need to talk about the definition as propounded by different scholars in the field. I hope you know that if you're a professor in economics, you can make a working definition, you can give a working definition which will be binding. So with that, suffice to say that there are numerous definitions. It has not been particularly easy to give a strict and completely satisfactory definition of economics, but at the same time, we have numerous definitions that of economics that can give an insight into what economics is. And these definitions are broadly categorized into four. Now, these four categories are: one, the classical view; two, the neoclassical view; the third one is scarcity definition, while the fourth one is what? Is the working definition. I want us to listen attentively. These four categories of definition of economics, the one that will be laying emphasis on, or the one that is acceptable, or mostly used, is that of the scarcity definition. So after explaining each of the four definitions of the four views or thoughts of economics, then we'll lay more emphasis on the third one, which is the scarcity definition. Now, let's start with the first one, the classical view. Now, the classical economics were the earliest or first generation economics in the sense that they were the first to document the totality of their economic thought in full scale. Now, this classical view are the one that were the first generation of economics, and they are the one that first will gather their thought, as in they are able to document or put in the document their thought, their economic thought in full scale. So that's why we'll call them the classical view, the classical view. These are the people that first gather their thought, the economic thought, and document them. Now, some of the definition as propounded by this first generation of economics are to be explained below. The first one is that the first definition we will need to consider here is that economics is what? Economics is an inquiry into the nature and cause of wealth of nations. As in any inquiry, economics is what? Economics is an inquiry into the nature and cause of the wealth of nations. Now, as provided by Adam Smith. Now, it means Adam Smith is one of the classical school of thought that provide one of the definitions, which says that economics as a subject is an inquiry into the nature and causes of what? Of wealth of nation. It means when you inquire into the nature and the cause of the wealth of a particular country or nations, then we talk about economy. So economy is all about, according to Adam Smith, inquiry into the nature and cause of wealth of nations of the country. Now, of nations. Now, another school of thought, another economists that give definition of under the classical view is that of J.B. says. J.B. says. They say that the study of laws which governs wealth. Economics is said to be the study of of laws which governs which governs wealth. So when you study the law which governs wealth, they will talk about economics according to J.B. says. Right? The third economics that made definition under this classical view is that of G.S. Mill, who says that economics is a body of knowledge which relates to wealth. So what we are now saying in essence is that from this definition, we realize that most of this classical economics, they make definition in relation to the wealth of a nation. According to the Adam Smith, it says economics is an inquiry into the nature and cause of wealth of nations. Why J.B. says is the study of laws which governs wealth. That's according to J.B. says. Why economics is a body of knowledge which relates to wealth according to what? To J.S. Smith. So it is all about wealth to the what? To this classical economics. Now, the second school of thought, the second generation of economists are what I make or propound definitions of what of economics are the neoclassical view. The neoclassical economics were immediate successor of the classical economists, who applied most of the approach and techniques in the latter with little modification in some cases. Now, it means this neoclassical view, the neoclassical school of thought of economics, they make amendment or little modification about on the definition as provided by by their predecessors. The classical view. So that's why we call them neoclassical view. Now, one of the definitions under this neoclassical view, is the one provided by Alfred Marshall. Now, he says that economics is the study of mankind in ordinary business of life. Now, when you study mankind, it's the study of of mankind in the ordinary business of in the ordinary business of life. Now, when you study mankind in the ordinary business of life, it examines that part of of individual and social actions which is most closely connected with the attainment and with the use of material requisites of well-being. It means economics, according to Alfred Marshall, is the study of mankind in ordinary business of life. That when you study mankind in the ordinary business of life, it examines that part of individual and social actions. We'll talk about the individual and the social actions, which is most closely and connected. Social actions which is most closely and connected with the attainment and with the use of material requisites of well-being. That is one of the definitions under this neoclassical view, who are the successor of the classical school of thought. Now, the third school of thought of economics that provided a definition that gave definition of economics is that of the scarcity definition. Now, this scarcity definition, this embraces the view of Lionel Robbins, Lord Lionel Robbins. Now, this is the most recognized propounder of definitions, or the most recognized professor that give working definition for economics, and I think his definition is mostly accepted as the definition of economics now in the present day. Now, this embraces the view of Lionel Robbins. Now, we are under the scarcity definition and his numerous followers. According to this, school of thought, the prime focus of economics is is the problem of resources that are limited in the relation to to human wants that are unlimited. Now, the focus of this of the definition as well by Lionel Robbins, under the scarcity definition or scarcity school of thought, is that economics is Economics is a school of thought. The prime focus of economics under this is a school of thought. The prime focus of economics is the problem of resources that are limited in relation to human wants that are unlimited. So now the definition brings about the relationship. It brings into focus the relationship between the limited resources and the unlimited human wants. So what makes the definition of this scarcity definition to be unique is the focus of this definition on the available resources in the nation and the unlimited amount of human wants. Now, what is the relationship between the resources in a country and the unlimited wants of human beings residing in that country? That's the premise of the definition of as propounded by Lord Lionel Robbins under this scarcity definition. Now, the definition: economics is a science which studies human behavior. Economics is a science which studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scarce means which have alternative uses. So this is propounded by definition propounded by Lionel Robbins. This is just saying that economics is a science which studies human behavior. So what economics is based on is studying of behavior. And whose behavior? Behavior of behavior of human being. And what is it about the behavior of human being? He studied behavior of human being as a relationship between the ends and the scarcity and the scarce means of of that human being. Now, what we are saying in essence is that economics is a what? Is a study. We study human. Is a discipline. We study what? Human behavior as a relationship between what? Between the ends and the what? And the scarce means. So when we say ends, what do we mean? Ends simply means what we use, what we want, our what? Our wants, our needs, our yearnings. You know, we have different yearnings, different needs. These are the ends, and they are very unlimited. Why scarce means simply means the resources that we use in what? In satisfying these are unlimited what? Unlimited ones. Now, the study of the behavior of the relationship between what? Between these ends and these scarce means, which have what? Alternative uses. Between the scarce means have what? Alternative uses. So this definition is that definition that was that provided by Lord Lionel Robbins, and it is what is definition that is mostly acceptable and is mostly used in the present day. Now, Lord Robbins' definition warrants further explanation. Now, the word end refers to wants in terms of what? Goods and services required by man for survival. That's the end. Why the word? The means refers to what? Productive resources, otherwise known as factors of what? Of production. These are land, labor, capital, which are used to produce goods and perform services, which people desire to satisfy their wants. So to make a good clarification of what? Of the definition of what? Of scarcity definition as provided by what? Lionel Robbins, we need to what? Give an explanation to the what? To the terms in there. The first one, which is the end, while the second one, which is what? The scarce means. And we have talked about the ends to be our wants, which are unlimited, while our scarce means is that what? Is our resources which are what? Which are used in what? Satisfying that end, and mostly they are what? They are the factors of production. So the relationship between these two terms, as it relates to the behavior of human being, is what Lionel Robbins states as what? As the definition of economics. Why the fourth view, which is the working definition, according to Leo Atkinson remarks, economics are what? Are concerned with the behavior of people, and the complexities of people's behaviors cannot be what? Easily captured in a single definition. So the working definition, Richard Lipsey is one of the word propounder or the word advocate of what? Of this working definition, and there are other numerous professors that have actually make what? Their landmark in what? In this working definition of what? Of economics. So the fourth school of thought that gives definition of what? Of economics is that of the what? The working definition, and the prominent advocate of this is that of is in person of Professor Richard Lipsey. And to Professor Richard Lipsey, the definition of what? Economics is defined as a social science concerned with the way the society chooses to employ scarce productive resources in order to what? Achieve certain condition of living. It means economics or Lipsey is also a science, but a social science which studies what? The way society chooses to what? Employ their scarce productive resources. The way they employ their scarce productive resources in order to what? To achieve what? Certain what? Condition of living. It means a pry into the what? Into the way society chooses to employ scarce productive resources in order to what? To achieve certain condition of living. Instead to be what? That will be the definition as presented by what? By Richard Lipsey. So we need to note that the most reckoned with definition is that of what? Lionel Robbins' definition, which is what? We say that economics is science which studies what? Human behavior as a relationship between what? Ends and scarce means, which have alternative reason. Why is this so? It's because of what? Because it contains the nitty-gritty of what the economy is all about. It's just studying about the behavior of human being. As it relates to what? Their ends, which is their numerous ones, and what? Their scarce means, which is the what? Limited resources used in satisfying that scarce means. So the relationship between the two, as it relates to the relationship of what? To the behavior of human being, is what? Is the premise of what economics is, as provided by what? By Lionel Robbins. As we move on, we'll still talk more on this concept, on this definition of what? Lionel Robbins. Now let's go to another subtopic which is what? It says what? Economics as a science. Now the question is economics a science? Is it considered to be a science or not? Now, economics is a science indeed. Why is it a science? Basically, economics is a science because the fundamental objective of economics is to establish valid generalization establishing of what? Of valid generalization about the what? The principle underlying the what? The choice people make, the choice of people with respect to the use of what? Of scarce resources. Economics explains the reason or the generalization about the what? That principle that what? That underlies what? Underlies the choices that people make. As in, what is their reason of making choices in relation to the available resources at their what? At their disposal. Now, any discipline that does this is what called economics, and it's what? It's said to be a science, and because of what? Because what science does is to what? To establish a what? An objective, and to establish a generalization about what? About the principle underlying the what? A particular phenomenon. Science is all about making generalization or making hypothesis laws about what? About a phenomenon or a what? About a problem. And that is what economics is also doing. But what economics is now doing now is what? Using that science approach into what? Into studying the behavior of what? Of human being. That is why we now say that economics is a science, but it's not a real or pure science. But it is a what? It is a what? It's a social science. However, economics is more referred to as a social science. Why? Because what? It studies how people behave as distinct from study inanimate matter. If you notice that we said that economy borders on the behavior of human beings, as in the rationale behind their choices they make and the what? And the available resources at their disposal. So therefore, it cannot be categorized as a pure science like physics and chemistry, because physics and chemistry as a pure science borders on what? Both animate and inanimate objects. But under the what? Under the economics, they borders mostly on what? Majorly on what? On animates. That is why they are not physical, they are not pure science. Rather, they are what? They are classified as what? As social science, because of what? They study behavior. And what behavior? The behavior of what? Of human being. Now from there we now move on to what? Positive and normative economics. Now what is positive economics and what is normative economics? These are the concepts that need clarification. And when we say positive economics, what do we mean? Positive economics is concerned with what actually happened. What is happening or what will happen? Any part of economics or any economic concept, any economic issue that you are explaining, that borders on what actually happened or what will happen or what is happening, is said to be a positive what? Economy. It is a value-free economic. It is a value-free thing. It is not biased. It is objective. As in, positive economics is our economies are what are objective. Hence, it is an objective what? Science. The science was an issue when talk about positive economy. Then there should be a fact to support those what? Those issues you are raising at that point in time. It means they should be subject to what? To verification, and the what? It means they are objective. They are not biased. They are value free. Now in positive economics, problems are what? Are identified and predictions are made on the basis of observed facts. It means under the positive economics, when you make predictions based on what? On observed facts. You don't just make predictions. There must be a reason, a basis, a yardstick, a data. There must be data that must be used to what? To back your what? To propositions or your predictions. That is what we call positive economics. Let's give an example of what? Of positive economics now. The following statements illustrate positive economics. Let's look at the first one. Assuming we say there will be rise in the general price level, that's inflation of course, whenever the supply of money outstrips the supply of what? Of goods and services. Now, generally, what happens when the supply of money in an economy is more than the supply of what? Of goods and services? If the money in circulation is more than the supply of goods and services, then what do you expect? You expect the price of the goods and services to go up, because there will be too much money to buy the available goods. Therefore, the people that are selling will be forced to what? To increase or jack up the price of those goods. And if this increase in prices is what? Is sustained over some period, then over a long period, then we'll have a what? An inflation. So what this is saying is that, as being a positive economy, is saying that there will be rise in general price level. We were not just making a prediction that there will be a rise in general price level. There is a reason, and that reason is verifiable. And that reason is that if supply of money is more than the goods and services, it means that it's an objective what? Objective economics. Because of what? Inflation can only occur when the money in circulation is more than the goods and services in circulation. That is a word, a positive economics, because what? It is value free, it is not judgmental, it is not biased, because it's what is premised on what? On fact. So, and any economics or any issues in economics that what are premised on what? On fact, on verifiable facts, verifiable data, then we'll call that economics a what? A positive economics. Let's look at another instance of what a positive economics. A substantial fall in demand for the product of labor-intensive industry will cause unemployment in the country. Now, what we are saying now is that there is going to be unemployment in the country. We are not just making the assumption that there will be unemployment in the country, but we are saying that a substantial fall in demand for the product of labor-intensive industry. It means if there is a fall in demand for a product for a labor-intensive industry, I mean an industry that are overwhelmed by what? By labor. I mean that an industry that the labor to capital ratio is high. I mean when they use more of labor than what? Than capital in that industry. Then if the demand for their products is low, then it simply means that that labor that they are making use of will be reduced because they have to shed off their labor. And if they shed off the labor, what happens? There will be unemployment. It means that unemployment is is inevitable whenever there is a substantial fall in the demand for the product of labor-intensive industry. Now this is it's also a positive economics because we are saying there will be unemployment. Why? Because of what? Because a substantial fall in demand for the product of labor-intensive industry. If there is a substantial fall in demand for the product of labor-intensive, then automatically we are going to have unemployment because there is no way a labor-intensive industry will continue to run when there is a reduction in their demand. They will definitely want to cut costs. And how do they cut costs? They cut costs by what? By sending their worker away. That is positive economy. So in a nutshell, positive economy is that economy that are premised on on facts, that are value free, that are objective. So it means when you make an assumption on that positive economy, then you should be able to have reasons. You should be able to have facts. You should be able to have data that will be able to substantiate that assumptions. Now, on the other hand, when we're not talking about normative economy, I mean this is not narrative. I'm sorry, this is a normative economics. When we talk about normative economics deals with what is a direct opposite of of positive economics. It deals with what ought to happen. You know, when we say positive the other time, it deals with what actually happened, or what is happening, or what will happen. But this normative economics deals with what ought to happen. I mean, what ought to happen, or what should happen. It is not value free. As a result, it's a subjective economy. It means a normative economics is not value free. It's a subjective economy. It's biased because it is not premised on on fact. A normative economy is not based on fact. It's not a value free economics because any assumption made under this normative economics are not substantiated. So that is why we call it a normative economics as opposed to to positive economics. So let's consider the following statement which belongs to the normative normative economics. Let's consider an example of normative economics. Now, the first one is that curbing the rising prices of goods should be the priority of the federal government of Nigeria now. Now, what we are saying in essence is that when we say curbing the rising prices of goods and services, should be the priority of the federal government of Nigeria now. Now, this is a subjective statement. Like a civil servant can make this statement and say, curbing the rising price, maybe the price of goods is increasing to him, and he believes that that's what the government is supposed to be doing now. Why ordinarily an average Nigerian can say what government is supposed to order himself with is the provision of electricity. You know, we have two views here. These two views, they are subjective, they are biased. You know, they have reasons why they are saying that. The first man might probably be seeing it in the sense that the amount he's collecting at the end of the day in his salary is not able to use it efficiently because the price of goods are increasing. That is why he says government should be concerned with reduction in the price of goods and services. Why the other man might probably be a barber who is actually incurring more costs on petrol. On petrol. Therefore, he wants electricity. You know, these are two views, and these two views are subjective views. And these subjective views now bring us to the focus that a normative economics is that economics that is subjective. It is a sharp contrast to that of positive economics, which is always substantiated with facts. So a normative economics is that economics that they are biased, they are subjective in nature. It means they are not premised on facts. They are not premised on figures, on data. So therefore, in normative economics, that economics are not They are not, they are biased, they are subjective, they are not objective in nature. Another one is that the federal government also concerns itself mostly with the solving problems of what? Of unemployment. This can be a view of what? Of a graduate that is unemployed. It mean, who will say government need to concern itself with what? With provision of unemployment. Why ordinarily government was probably supposed to be what? Providing water for people. You know, this is the two views that was, you know, it depends on the needs of that person. That makes him to what? To bring to bear, to make that assertions. It means he is biased. He has a what? An inner view of what he wants to achieve before making an assertion of what government should be doing or not. So all these statements are categorized under normative economics. So that is that for normative and positive economics. So let's go to concept in economics. Now the concept in what? In economics. So when we say economic concept in economics, these are what terms that we need to familiarize ourselves with under economics, so that we will have a good ground of what? Grasp of what? Of this subject. Now the first one is scarcity. When we say scarcity in a literal meaning, scarcity simply means non-readily availability of something, you know. When an item on an issue is not readily available, then we say it is what is scarce. Now the concept of scarcity is used to describe the situation that arises when limited resources are not enough to satisfy the unlimited human wants. We are talking about two things here. We are talking about resources, and we are talking about human wants. These are the two things that economy borders on, according to Lionel Robbins, you know, in his definition of a scarcity definition. He is relating the behavior of human beings to resources available which are limited, and the human wants which are what? Unlimited. Now scarcity helps us to what? Is used to describe the situation that arises when the limited resources, I mean the factors of production, are not enough to handle the what, or to cater for the human wants. Then if this situation arises when the resources are not enough to satisfy human wants, they will say we are having a scarcity. So what we are doing in economics mostly is what? Is scarcity. You know, we are trying to provide solutions to the problem of scarcity. So the premise or the focus of economics mostly is what? Is scarcity. That is why we say the scarcity definition as provided by Lionel Robbins is what? Is the most acceptable definition in the present day. I mean, so therefore scarcity explains what? The inadequacy of what? Of the available human resources to what? To cater for the what? For the numerous human wants. So that is scarcity. The next one is choice. When something is scarce, then there is need for us to prioritize, you know. There is need for us to make choice. Because so far our resources is not enough to cater for our human wants. Our wants are many, while our resources are minimal. Then we need to make choices among our wants, which our resources will satisfy, you know. Then choice comes in. I mean, taking one and leaving the other. Now, since in any society the available resources are not enough to produce all goods and services required for complete satisfaction of the numerous wants, choices must now be made regarding what goods and services, how much to produce, for whom to produce. Therefore, an individual consumer must choose among type of goods and services, and between what? And between present and future consumptions, because of his limited money income. Now what we are saying in essence is that because of the non-readily availability of resources to satisfy human wants, then there is need to make a choice between what? Present and future consumption, or between items under consideration. So that was, if you are doing that, then we are making choices. So what brings about choice making is what? Is scarcity. Because we are having scarcity of what? Scarcity of resources in relation to unlimited wants, then we need to make choice as to what? As to be able to what? To use our limited resources to satisfy our what? Our unlimited wants. So that is what? Choice. Now the next one is scale of preference. Scale of preference is analogous to that of scarcity. It's more or less like scarcity. Now when we say scale of preference, it simply means that what? Arrangement of our wants according to what? According to the priority we place on them, you know. When you arrange your wants, you know, ordinarily we said our resources are not enough to satisfy our wants. For example, let's take a school, let's take an hypothetical example of what? Of students that have little resources on him or her. Maybe the resources he's having is what? Is 50 naira. And he's having like how many? He's to buy book, he's to buy a biro, and he's to buy a shirt. And the shirt costs 50 naira, the biro costs maybe 10 naira, the book costs maybe 5 naira. So this is what we are saying now, is that he is having 50 naira on him, and it can only what is having numerator. This 50 naira now can be said to be what the resources. Now, why this book, biro, and shirt are the what are the numerals what want. Now, what scale of preference is now saying now is that we should now arrange this our want because of these limited resources that cannot be used to satisfy all our wants. Then we should arrange our want based on the way it is what we want them, to prioritize them, the way they are necessary, the way you want to satisfy them, the usefulness of them, the immediate, how immediate, how tense are they to be satisfied. I mean, the immediate use of them. So you need to arrange them. So if you not arrange them based on the way you want them satisfied, then we say we are constructing a scale of preference. Now, that student can say he wants to buy shirt first. That he prefers shirt because maybe his clothes is torn. But after that, he would like to buy his book. And after that, he will now buy his what? His Bible. So with this now, you will be able to rearrange this one because of what? These limited resources. This is now what we call the scale of what? Of preference. So a scale of preference is what? Explain the arrangement of one's want. He has arranged it, the want, according to their level of what? Of priority. This is what will be number 1 on the priority, number 2, number 3. So whenever I have money, you first satisfy this one first, second and third. That's scale of preference. The next one is opportunity cost. Now when we say opportunity cost, what do we mean? Opportunity cost, it simply means the cost of what? Of alternative forgone for us to be able to satisfy a particular need. Now the cost of what? The opportunity cost is the cost of alternative forgone for the purpose of what? Of satisfying a particular what? For the purpose of satisfying a particular need. So what are we saying now? What are we saying in essence? For that student I will make a reference to the other time. Assuming the student is having 2 options on Saturday to do, maybe to go for lecture, to go for ICANN lecture, or CIS lecture, or whatever, or to what? To go to a cinema. Now, maybe these are the 2 items these are the 2 events he has on what? On Wednesday, on Saturday. Now, if he goes to what? To a lecture, then he will definitely not go to cinema. But if he goes to cinema, definitely lecture is not possible. Then, if eventually he decides to go for lecture, then we will now say, what is the cost of this lecture? The cost of this lecture to economics is said to be the opportunity cost. And the opportunity cost is what? Is the cost of this cinema that he left unsatisfied because he wants to satisfy the lecture. So now the opportunity cost describes the sacrifice made in making a choice. Now you have made a choice of going to what? For lecture at the expense of what? Of the cinema. So the cost of lecture is not the cost you incur to that lecture. Rather, it is what? It is cinema that you are unable to go because it's what? It is what? Is the opportunity cost of the alternative, is the alternative that you forgone for the purpose of satisfying a particular choice. So this describes the sacrifice made in making a choice. It is also called what? A real cost. So if you see a real cost, we say is opportunity cost. And economics is more concerned about opportunity cost. They think in line with opportunity cost. That is what makes them different from what? From an accountant. We talk about cost, as in cost incurred. And that's that. So now the next one is ceteris paribus. Ceteris paribus simply means, the term in economics called what? Simply means what? All things being equal. Now when we say all things being equal, what do we mean? When we say all things being equal, we are saying that, what is all things being equal? It means provided all other conditions affecting a particular variable remain constant, then the assumption we are making or asserting is what? Is correct. So let's talk about this. Assuming we are making a definition of what? Of demand, and we say demand, the higher the law of demand, that the higher the price, the lower the what? The lower the quantity demanded. I mean, the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded. Ceteris paribus. Ceteris paribus. So what it is saying is that the higher the price of a particular good, the lower the quantity demanded. Now, the only way which this assumption that can be true is that what? Is that if all other conditions, all other factors affecting demand remain constant, like taste, so far they remain constant, then you can now say the higher the price, the higher, the lower the quantity demanded. Now, that concept that we now make to what, that we now use to what, to connote this what, this constancy of of variables in an assumptions is what we call ceteris paribus. So ceteris paribus simply means what? Means all things being equal.